Hello, math students. Welcome back to Module 2 called Rational Numbers. And today is Lesson 5, and it is called Multiplication of Integers. And our goal for today is we will learn how to use integers in multiplication. And what you can remember is we have been working with integers and rational numbers, and we have learned how to add them. We've learned how to subtract them, and today we are going to learn how to multiply them. So the question that I want you to be thinking about when you are listening during this lesson is, what are rules used with multiplying integers? So we're going to come up with some rules by doing, and then you'll be able to understand what they are once we get finished. So we're going to start off the lesson today with a little jaunt down memory lane to remember what you have been learning about multiplication, probably in 3rd or 4th grade. But when you were multiplying numbers in 3rd or 4th grade, a lot of times you saw them written like this. And one of the things that I am hoping that they have taught you before is this first number right here tells you the number of groups. Okay, the number of groups. And the second number in the multiplication sentence actually tells you the number that you have, or we're calling it an integer. So we're going to use the integer of 5, and it's happening 3 times because we have 3 groups of -5. Let me say that again. 3 groups of, in math means times, -5. So what that means is you are going to have -5, right, plus -5 plus -5, because we have 3 groups of -5. And we have been using the chips to help us see and understand this, so all we would have to do is draw exactly what we have. So we have 3 groups of -5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all negative. That's one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the second group. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the third group. And so if you count all of those numbers, first thing you'll notice is they're all negative chips. So my answer has to be negative because I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I see 15 negative chips. So my answer is -15. Okay? So let's try it over here with this one, remembering what we said. The first number is always the number that tells you the number of groups. Okay? So this time I have 5 groups of -3, and it's the integer. So we're actually going to focus on -3. So on this one, I have 5 groups of -3. So it would be -3 plus -3 plus -3 plus -3 plus -3, because I have -3 5 times, because I have 5 groups of -3. So the way that one would look using the chips would be, okay, negative, 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 there's 1. Because I have the integer of -3, and I'm doing it 5 times. So then I would have negative, negative, negative. That's the second group. Negative, negative, negative. That's the third group. Negative, negative, negative. That's the fourth group. And negative, negative, negative. That's the 5th group. So 5 groups of -3. And so I'm noticing by looking at what I have in front of me, they're all negatives, all negative chips. And now let's count what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Again, my answer is -15 because I have 5 groups of -3. And so all of the chips are negative, so therefore the answer has to be negative, and then there's 15 total when you count them. So in this one, I have learned that a positive number times a negative number gives me an answer that is negative. A positive number times a negative number gives me an answer of a negative. Interesting. Something to keep in mind. Okay. All right. So now the next question is, if these are groups, can you have negative groups? And so we've been talking about that a lot in class, and one of the things that we've been noticing is that if you have a group, it has to be a physical, real thing that we can see. If you have a negative group, well, we can't see it, okay? And so you've got to think of another tool that would help represent this, because mathematically, you can have negative groups by showing them on a number line. So the number line can help us when we're working with this one, because this one says the number of groups that I have, number of groups, again, this is the integer represented. So what this is saying is that I have 3 negative groups of 5. Well, the only thing that I can think of that comes to mind that helps me with that is 3 negative groups, and we talked about what direction means on the number line, and I know that if I go to the left on a number line, that's representing a negative value. So if I go to the left 3 times, and each arrow is 5 spaces long, then have I done 3 negative groups of 5? And the answer is yes. So there's 0. I would go -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, right? -6, -7, -8, -9, -10, -11, -12, -13, -14, -15. And now I can draw what I have. And remembering that when the group number is negative, that means I go to the left on the number line. So I have to draw 3 arrows, and they have to be the length of 5. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 3. So this arrow is the length of 5. This arrow is the length of 5. This arrow is the length of 5. And I went to the left 3 times, the left 3 times, and I came up with my answer of -15. So when you have a negative group, you need to use the number line. The number line allows this to work because it just means you're going to go left on your number line. All right, so again, we remember this number right here tells us the number of groups, and this number right here is the integer that we are showing. Okay, so again, here's my number line. I know that I have to go to the left on my number line, and I have to go 5 arrows. Okay, so 5 arrows to the left, and they need to be the length of 3 this time. Okay, so here's 0, and then I have okay, there's my numbers, and then my arrows have to be the length of 3. So if I start right here and I go 1, 2, 3, start right here and go 1, 2, 3, start right here and go 1, 2, 3, start right here and go 1, 2, 3, last one, start right here and go 1, 2, 3. Now you can see that the length of each arrow is 3. It's going to the left, and there are 5 of them because I have to go to the left 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they are the length of 3. So let's put our numbers in there. So this would be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, -10, -11, -12, -13, -14, -15, and we ended up again on -15 because -5, so that means left arrow 5 times, and it's length of 3, and so we got an answer of -15. Okay, so that's kind of fun. The number line is a really, really helpful tool when dealing with negative groups. So let's also notice something else. If you have a negative times a positive, your answer is negative. Interesting. A negative times a positive, your answer is negative. A positive times a negative gives you a negative answer. A positive times a negative gives you a negative answer. So far, there might be a noticeable pattern. Okay? All right, so going to the left on the number line represents a negative group number, which is what we just talked about. What happens when your group number and your numerical value are both negative? So that means we have a negative group and we have a negative integer. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. A negative group times a negative integer. Well, there's a little rule that you can remember is a negative times a negative means a loss of 3 groups of negative 5. Let me say that again. Negative 3 times negative 5 is considered a loss of 3 groups of negative 5. And remember, we talked about a loss. That means you're scooping them up and taking them away. They're gone. Okay, so we're losing 3 groups of negative 5. Well, the only way we can lose them or take them away is to draw them. And so what we have to do in order to draw them is we're going to move back to the chips, okay? And we're going to move back to this idea. In order to take away the negatives, you must have some, which I don't have any right now. So to do this, we're going to use 0 pairs, okay? And so our problem said negative 3 groups of negative 5. So remember, this is number of groups, and this is your integer, right? It doesn't change what we label them. But this time it says that we have to lose 3 groups of negative 5. So obviously we're going to have 3 groups of negative 5, but we have to build them. So the one way that we've learned how to build them is by drawing them. And we have to use our 0 pairs, okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all positives, and these are all negatives because that's how we make a 0 pair. So that's 1 0 pair. Now we need another group of 0 pairs, right? Because it says 3 groups. So this is our second group of 0 pairs. Here is our second group of 0 pairs, and now we need one more group because it said 3 groups. And we're doing 3 groups of 0 pairs so we can get rid of our negatives because we didn't have anything before we started. All right, so now it's saying that there's the first group, there's the second group, there's the third group. And according to this, remember, it said a loss of 3 groups of negative 5. So now I'm going to find all of my groups of negative 5. So here's one group of negative 5. Bye-bye. Take them away. One group of negative 5, bye-bye, take them away. And one group of negative 5, bye-bye, take them away. And so if they're gone, we don't count them anymore because we took them away. But what do we have left? Well, count them and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So my answer to a negative 3 times a negative 5 gives me a positive 15. Is that awesome or what? Now that's a little bit tricky, but take a look at it. A negative times a negative gives you a positive answer. Some of you are like, holy moly, how did we do that? Well, we did that by using our rules. You know how to make 0 pairs, and then you take away what you're supposed to. It says a loss of 3 groups of negative 5. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. And what do we have left? Only the positives. So that's how you come up with a positive 15 is your answer. So a negative times a negative is a positive. Interesting. A negative times a positive is a negative, right? A negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a positive is a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. A positive times a negative is a negative. And yet, a negative times a negative is a positive. So I hope you're trying to get my big, gigantic hint from our question for our lesson for today. All right, as I'm going to conclude our little lesson, I have a try a couple. So what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to what we did up here because we have an exact same problem. The only thing I did down here is I changed the values. So use what we learned up here to complete all 3 of these. This is what I'm going to be looking for when I'm looking at your notes. So those of you who are thinking that you don't have to write this down, this goes in the questions and answers section of your notes. So I need to see everybody solving these. And you need to remember how we solved them with this method. So I need you to use this method to solve those down below. Okay? All right, so going back to our goal, today we will learn how to use integers in multiplication. Question, what are rules used with multiplying integers? I would pay attention to what I said several times to help you remember the rules of multiplication. Okay? Several times I went over it, so hopefully you can also answer those in your notes as well. I think that's all I have for you today. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.